What's up, internet? My name's Ori. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. You like this video? Hit that like button. Hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Today is Monday, August 1st, which makes it day 27 inside the Big Brother house. Now, before we get into what happened on the live feeds last night, and well, technically this morning, right now, as I'm recording, like they're still up. It's a mess, but they're still up. And it's going to be an important update because there is a brand new plan for this week. And it's actually a really smart one. And we're going to break it down how they came to this decision and what it actually all means. Let's start off with the episode that we had last night, which, by the way, we actually did a watch along over on Twitch last night for the episode. Watched the HoH, the nomination ceremony, all live on Twitch. In fact, actually, there was kind of a funny moment where somebody subscribed here on YouTube, and because I have alerts set up for that, I was like, oh, hey, welcome on in, and then realized they weren't here. Let me just show you the clip real quick. Nicole is getting some cold feet about going up on the block. She's not. And hello there. Welcome on in. Or actually, you know what that probably is? That might be a YouTube subscriber. That's somebody that just subscribed on YouTube. They're not here. They're over on YouTube. They should be here, but they're over on YouTube. There you go. Just a funny little moment from the stream. But yeah, you can join us over there on Twitch. In fact, I'll be live tonight over there as well. We're going to be playing some games, but we'll definitely be talking about the veto ceremony because that is today. So by the time I'm live, we should know what happened with the veto. Anyway, let's jump into the episode that we had last night, kind of break down what happened. We started in the middle of the episode with that letters dropping from the ceiling. Everybody had to open up an envelope, find a red invitation to move on to the next part of the HoH. The first 8 people to do this, they would move on. We ended Thursday's eviction episode. We already knew that Jasmine, Brittany, and Terrance were already being moved on into the next round. They were actually joined by Monte, Daniel, Joseph, Nicole, and Alyssa, who ended up advancing. Before we actually got to the next part of the competition, we had like a nice little flashback moments to right after the vote from Thursday, kind of like the aftermath of the blind side. Everybody's like, what's going on? Did you know? Did you know? People are all upset. And Michael is kind of cornered by the girls in the bathroom, and he's like, yeah, you know, I did, but I had to do it. Like, it's just what happened, like, you know, and they were like, all right, we respect your honesty at least. But yeah, it was kind of cool to see like the immediate aftermath, and the girls were like, well, shit, we're the only ones who didn't vote Ameerah out. But that takes us into the actual HoH competition. It was the shuffleboard, right? We've seen it a couple times where there's different sections of this long table with progressively higher numbers, 1 to 5. You want to get it in the highest zone without going off the end of the table. They had these like cups they had to slide across, and it was you know, crapshoot kind of a competition. Nicole came really close in this one. She ended up with a score of a 9. Monte ended up with coming up real clutch to get a score of 11 to be able to win the HoH. So yes, Monte, as we knew already, but as we found out in this episode, he is our HoH, which in turn makes Joseph and Terrance safe for the week as well. We got more fallout from the vote on Thursday with Alyssa and the Kyle conversation of like, why didn't you tell me? Like, you were my number 1. And he's like, well, I thought you were like, you know, I was your 3, right? Like, I thought you would never vote out Ameerah or, you know, Nicole or Jasmine. Like, I thought you know, I thought I was much lower on your totem pole. So he's like, I had to. And it's just going to continue with the whole idea of like Kyle being like, I am so over this. He's kind of just like trying to keep her happy so that she doesn't have like a big blow up, but he obviously like doesn't want to hurt her feelings, but he doesn't want to do anything in the house like 100%. He doesn't want to showmance, but Alyssa is like still on this and keeps referring to it as a showmance, even though it's not. So it's been kind of a problem. Dan and Nicole, Daniel, they were clueless. Like they have no clue what's really going on with the vote and everything. So they were just kind of running around like accusing, you know, different people of everything. We had what actually might have been, let me be completely honest here. Even though I didn't like the content of it, I enjoyed the rawness and the realness of this DR. It felt very much like an old school Big Brother DR. It wasn't the, you know, blindside butter beans and any of that, you know, fed lines. Jasmine was in the DR and just, listen, again, I didn't like the content. I like the idea of it being this raw. Jasmine was just tearing in on Taylor. It really was like, oh, come on, Jasmine. Like, how do you not still see what's going on? Like, I really don't understand how you're so blind to this. She was like, this is all Taylor's fault. She's getting in there like a snake. She's manipulating them, doing this and that, and just like blaming Taylor, throwing her on the bus hardcore. But this is in the DR, right? So this is like to nobody else but the diary room. And again, didn't like the content, but I want more DRs like that. I want the raw emotion. I want to see what the houseguests are really thinking, not these silly quotes that they put out there, right? Like, oh, say this line, it'll be funny and it fits your character. That's okay to do when you're in the middle of like a competition recap or something like that. Like, I get it. Like, you're trying to put on a show and maybe you want to add some humor in there here and there, but also like just like face up with it. Like, this is real people in a crazy situation. We want to hear about what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and show us that more. So again, didn't like the content of what Jasmine was saying, but I liked the idea of that type of DR being shown more in the episodes. As far as on the episode, the plan was the same as what we've been talking about for a while. Get Alyssa, Nicole, or Daniel out of the house this week. They really showed a good job of showing that conversation of the leftovers kind of getting together. They were like, hey, listen, Taylor, what do you want? Right? That's one thing I really love about the cookout. Not the cookout. I love about the cookout. About the leftovers is the cookout as well. They did a pretty good job of this, but the leftovers are really coming together to make sure everybody has a say. Everybody has gets their opinion across. They're not like making moves just to make moves and not consider what anybody else in the group is thinking. They always want to like run it by each other, come up with a plan. Is it the right one? Let's discuss it and figure this out, because they all respect each other at the end. And I've really been liking seeing that from the leftovers this season. Anyway, they asked Taylor, like, what do you think? What's going on? She's like, look, I would love to see Nicole go. I would just also not like to be on the block again. So at the it is what it is, right? I'll do it if the opportunity presents itself with the veto, but I'd also like not to see the block if possible. But she's down to do it if she needs to. Like, she can be strong once again. The episode ended with the nominations, and we got to see that Monte did in fact nominate Alyssa and Indy onto the block. So they're the nominees going into the veto, which we will see on Wednesday's episode, but we already know who won the veto, so we'll get into all that here in just a moment as we start talking about the live feeds from yesterday. Now, as far as the feeds, there was not a lot in the morning. Like, the morning was pretty chill, just, you know, your typical Big Brother morning, you know, talking about what happened last night, kind of everybody chit-chatting, having some breakfast, nothing crazy. And then things kind of took a little bit of a turn. You know, a lot of people were outside. They had the backyard, so they were kind of like chilling out in the sun, doing their thing. And Nicole just continues to try and like find the best possible ways to talk bad about Taylor. She's just like always trying to one up her ability to say just the worst possible things and then double down on she's a good person. So she pretty much said, and I literally don't think I can say this on YouTube and still be here, but I'll try and get the point across. She says, you know, if she wants to go around there flaunting her around all over the backyard, Go ahead. That's not who I am. Like, she was laying out in the backyard. Like, chill the fuck out. Chill out. And then she also went on again to double down that she's like a good person. Like, I'm not ashamed of anything I've said in here. Like, I am totally comfortable with everything I've said. I stand by it. There's nothing I have to worry about. Maybe we'll find out later. Meanwhile, on the outside of the house, I don't know if everybody saw the TikTok from Paloma. I don't know if I mentioned it yesterday in the update or if I mentioned it on the live feed. I think we definitely talked about it on the live feed or the live yesterday on Twitch. Paloma put out a TikTok. It's deleted now. You can probably find it on Twitter. There's people have copied it and posted it. But pretty much she came out and was like, yeah, I wanted to come out and talk about, how I left. It was all about, my mental health and how I was striving to, do better for me. And it wasn't about, the game or Taylor or whatever. And it would have been great if she just ended there, maybe added like, hey, it's really hard in that house and you never know what's going on or what people are going through. And it makes you, say and do some crazy stuff and I wasn't in a good headspace, but hey, thank you for everybody who has shown me support as I've come out of the house. For anybody who's shown the negativity, I hope you can learn from this that hey, people are going through a rough time in there and maybe it's not as easy. Here's some support for anybody who may have mental health issues that they struggle with every day when they're not in a crazy house with 16 other people. But no, that's not what she did. That's the exact opposite of what she did. In fact, she went on to say, yeah, all that stuff, it's kind of crazy that you guys are saying that I'm a bully. Taylor was actually the bully. Taylor was the one who would say stuff about me, and then I was just clapping back. When you're bullied, you clap back. And maybe that wasn't okay, but still. It's like, how can pretty much the whole house now at this point with the leftovers, how can they all see that what Taylor was being put through is terrible, but the people who are actually out of the house now, who have been able to see everything going on, still have this like warped sense of like, well, you didn't see everything on the feeds, and we actually had first she said we had a lot of good moments that nobody saw. Now she's saying that she was actually being bullied by Taylor. I guess she finally saw that, yeah, there's a lot of clips of her bullying Taylor, and that maybe she should say like, hey, Taylor was bullying me. Right? Like, Taylor's bullying me, so that's why. She's just like, it's... you know what? Why are we even talking about her? She's not on the show anymore. She left. She quit. Moving on. Daniel actually pitched, like, this alliance to Alyssa. It was kind of like that one that we talked about yesterday where it was, like, Daniel, Indy, Jasmine. But this one would be Daniel, Indy, Jasmine, Nicole. And then they would bring Kyle in. So it's pretty much, like, old school with Indy and then adding Kyle. It's a bad idea. Their whole goal is like Nicole's getting nervous. She doesn't want to actually go on the block anymore. She thinks it's going to be like deja vu with Ameerah. So she thinks it's going to be just like that all over again. She's definitely getting cold feet. Doesn't want to go on the block. So the idea is now is like, hey, maybe we can convince Kyle like, hey, let's work together here, right? But also, I don't understand what their pitch is, because if they form this little alliance with Alyssa and it's Indy, Jasmine, and Nicole, and they pull in Kyle, what's their actual plan here? Because if they don't use the veto, Alyssa and Indy are on the block. If they do use the veto, Nicole and Taylor would go on the block. And then Nicole is like worried, so are they just trying to get the votes to make sure she stays? I don't know. It just seems silly. Just seems like a silly idea. But in Daniel and Nicole's ultimate goal, they would love if Kyle would agree not to use the veto with them. There was another piece of drama that kind of happened yesterday. So Indy had this like onion thing. She calls it crybaby. She had like a face that she put on it and stuff. And I guess she decided to have like a funeral for it, and they wanted to have like this big backyard like lunch thing that they did. So she ended up like making all this food. She was like clearing out the fridge of all the kind of stuff that was in there. And it ended up being that it was mainly Turner's HoH food that he was saving because he was HoH and got a bunch of stuff in his basket, but he didn't eat it all, so he was going to save it. But then he ended up being a have-not, so he can't eat it right now. And instead of Indy being like, hey, I'm going to go through the fridge, right? Like, if there's anything in there that you know, want to, like, keep, like, I was just going to go through and see what's in there that's, like, you know, maybe almost expired that we have to get rid of soon. So if there's anything in there that you want, like, go around like a decent person and just, like, ask, like, your roommates, like, hey, anything in there that you don't want, like, let me know, right? She just went in there, started pulling stuff out. It was mainly Turner. Like, not only, like, was it mainly Turner's food, like, there was, like, 90% of it was all Turner's. Like, he's like, yeah, the queso and, like, those little, like, veggie bites and, like, these veggies over here, they were mine, and, like, the hummus and, like, that. Like, it was all Turner's. It was this whole big spread. It was all Turner's. And guess what? He can't even eat it because he's a have-not. And Indy just kept saying, well, it was expired. Like, it was going to go bad. Like, yeah, the point is you didn't ask the kid, right? Like, it is what it is. So there's that little drama. Daniel kind of went to Kyle again, was kind of like, you know, pitched that alliance whole thing with him. He was like, listen, if we don't, like, do something, Monte and Joseph are going to steamroll this game. And, you know, it's a whole big thing. Kyle just gave, like, a lot of those, like, really? You think so? Like, oh, yeah, maybe. But he's still, like, it was all just jokes. Like, he doesn't care anything about what Daniel's saying. It's all just an act. There was something kind of interesting, like, I guess, production asked them to play bumper pool. They wanted to get some shots of them doing that because they were playing bumper pool and, like, they kind of forced them all to do it, but they were, like, doing it like, hey guys, like, let's play bumper pool, and, like, they were laughing. It was almost like they were using, like, the voices they would use in the DR, like, oh, like, here comes a blindside butterbean pool in the pocket or whatever. So that was kind of a thing, and yeah, they did that for a while. It was also Michael's birthday, so they got a bunch of booze, they got some cake mix. Brittany and Taylor ended up decorating Michael's cake, and actually it was kind of nice when they were doing it. It gave Brittany and Taylor kind of a chance to chat, and Brittany was just kind of like being like, Taylor, you're strong ass, like, woman, like, you're tough. She said, like, honestly, I don't know if I would have been able to handle what you went through and stay. Like, I might have quit. And Taylor, you know, was just so thankful that, you know, she was saying that. She's like, yeah, it was rough. And she's like, I actually didn't realize how bad it was until a lot of you guys started, like, standing up for me. And Brittany, you know, felt kind of bad because she didn't stand up and say much, you know, in front of the group, right? But again, like, one of the hard parts about Big Brother is when this stuff happens is you also have to remember you're playing a game at the same time. So you standing up for that person who is being, you know, looked down upon by the others, it might end up putting a big target on your back that then you didn't have before, right? So especially when you're playing for $750,000, like, you got to be careful with what you do, and normally you would stand up for that, but inside the house it makes it really difficult. And Taylor said, listen, it's fine, like, I get it, and I always knew you had my back, so at the end of the day, we're good. There was also, what was really fun, was when they got to Michael's birthday at, like, midnight, they all, you know, they were gonna drink some, have some you know, a little party. They had, like, party hats that Big Brother gave them, and they decided to reenact Keisha's birthday. I didn't realize this, but apparently Keisha and Michael share the same birthday, so they decided to actually reenact this, and Taylor did the part of anybody want cake? It was fantastic. I hope they show that on the episode as, like, a little homage to the old school thing. After that, it was really kind of a just chill little party, right? They were all hanging out in the HoH room, having a good time, telling stories, kind of like a kumbaya thing. And the leftovers actually ended up being, you know, the last ones in there. Minus, I think, Taylor. I don't think Taylor was in there. He was kind of not Taylor, Turner. I think Turner was kind of off on his own for a bit. But he did eventually join them afterwards. And they were up there kind of just, you know, talking, chit-chatting. And eventually, one of the things they were talking about was how great they feel being with each other, right? Like, it's such a fun group, and they're so happy to be able to hang out with each other and have fun. It, like, feels like they actually have friends in the house now. And it was kind of a nice bonding session with them all. But they also said what sucks is they wish they didn't have to feel this, like, burden or this, like, guilty feeling when they do hang out because they don't want it to look suspicious to the others. And they wish they could just, you know, relax and have fun, but there's always this, like, idea of, like, oh, what does it look like if we're all hanging out together? They talked about the Chinese checkers that they played yesterday, which was, like, so much fun to watch, and then also for them to have fun. And it was like, yeah, but, like, the whole time there was, like, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, like, oh crap, it's all of us together. Like, what does this look like? So that was nice. But after that, they did get into some game talk and a little bit of game theory that's kind of interesting. And now that I've thought about it as well, I think this is really smart and a really great way to kind of think about how to go forward with this week. So this all kind of starts with them saying that Indy kind of trusts Brittany and Michael at the moment. So we talked about Crybaby, that weird little onion thing. Apparently he had these eyes that Indy made in the earrings, and Michael was like, oh, like, are you wearing Crybaby's earrings? And she's like, I've manifested it. Whoever was the first person to realize that I had these earrings on is going to be somebody I know I can trust, and it's all going to be good. So they think that if there's a scenario where Indy stays, or whoever is the surviving person stays, maybe they have to pick one of Monte, Joseph, and Terrance. And if that's the case, and they put up Nicole and Taylor, Taylor has to choose one of them, and it really puts them in the same boat they've been in this week, where there's, or last week, I should say, where there's two pairs that have members that are all leftovers, right? So if, let's say, Taylor were to stay, she would pick Terrance. She kind of insulates herself. But Monte and Joseph are exposed, and Michael and Brittany are exposed, because if either one of them ends up on the block at the end of the veto ceremony, one of the leftovers is going home. So what they started to think was, well, if we send Alyssa home, there's a good chance that Indy might choose Monte, or she might choose Joseph, or let's say she doesn't have to pick one of them. Maybe she gets to pick another pair. Maybe she ends up picking Michael and Brittany. And in either of those scenarios, everyone in the leftovers is covered. The only scenario where they wouldn't be covered is if Indy chose Terrance, and then they're kind of still back in that scenario. If Nicole would win veto and Indy did pick Terrance and that was how it went, they could be in trouble, but also Monte thinks he has a little bit of a plan on how to prevent at least Monte and Joseph from going up on the block. So to just kind of run through that scenario again, because I can understand where that could be a little bit confusing and maybe hard for it to kind of make sense. Option A is nominations stay the same. Alyssa goes home, and Indy has to pick Monte, Joseph, or Terrance. In that scenario, best case scenario, she picks, let's say, Joseph. She really trusts Joseph a lot. That means Monte and Terrance are a pair. If either of them go up, they have the votes to send Terrance home. Indy and Joseph would be a pair. Well, they would have the votes to send Indy home over Joseph. Nicole and Taylor would still be a pair. Kyle and Daniel. Jasmine and Turner. The only pair that would be in danger from this situation would be Michael and Brittany. And again, that's kind of unavoidable in this scenario. If she doesn't have to pick one of Monte, Joseph, and Terrance, and she could pick any pair, there's a strong possibility that Michael and Brittany can get her to pick them. And in that scenario, every pair would have someone that would be safe and everyone would be protected. And then option C is you send Nicole home and then Taylor has to pick between Michael and Brittany, Indy Alyssa, Monte Joseph, or not, Indy Alyssa, or one of the other pairs. They would still be in a situation where two pairs of leftovers are together, and it could be an issue, or at least one pair of the leftovers would be out there. So it in game theory, for just their safety alone, it does kind of make sense to send Alyssa home and keep Indy in a chance that, hey, maybe we can try and insulate our pairs a little bit here, right? Because if it's the same rules as last week and she just gets to pick, she joins Michael and Brittany, and they have no issues. That's like perfect scenario. That's the best option. If she chooses Joseph, that's a second best option where there's only one pair they have to worry about keeping off the block, Michael and Brittany. And then it seems like that might be the best case scenario, right? Keep Indy, send Alyssa home, and in the morning, Monty's going to have a conversation with Daniel and Nicole and be like, listen, I'm getting a weird feeling. Jasmine, Alyssa, and Indy, they all don't trust you anymore. I don't want to put you up to keep you safe. I don't want to risk you going home like Ameerah. So I want to think about keeping it the same. What do you think? This would then have Nicole kind of trust Monty even more and be like, all right, yeah, like, let's get in this. And that way, if she knows that Jasmine, Indy, and Alyssa aren't trusting her anymore, if she would win HoH, she's more likely not to put up Monty and Joseph and go after somebody like Indy or maybe Jasmine. So it's an interesting little thing that's kind of developed here, and I'm gonna be kind of fascinated to see how this turns out on Monday's veto. The one issue with this is Indy's the wild card, and Joseph's the one that said, he's like, look, Indy, if she stays on that block, she might blow up and be like, I'm going home, I'm not talking to anybody, like, it could be a freak out kind of situation. So there's that to worry about as well, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this develops going forward. That said, I think that pretty much covers it. Monty's still talking. I think he's kind of filling in Kyle on the whole new plan right now to try and insulate and protect as many members of the cookout, I keep saying the cookout today. I don't know why. As many members of the left out overs as possible for this upcoming week. But what do you guys think? Do you think this is a good plan? Do you think it's a smart plan? Do you think it might blow up in their faces? Let me know in those comments down below. Also, if you made it all the way through this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you never miss a video and you never miss a stream. Like I said, it will be live over on Twitch tonight, twitch.tv/OriStreams. Links are in the description down below, should be in a pinned comment as well. And I will see you next time.